Hello, my name is Basim and welcome to another video from Business Management Simplified. Do employees get promoted due to hard work, performance, or punctuality? Or perhaps because they are more likable and can develop better relationship with the management? One can also ask, why often it is not the hardest working nor the best performing employees who get promoted? As we will see, there are answers to all of these questions and even more. How to get promoted is always a hot topic. In this video, I will present you with a set of guidelines that will make it more likely for you to get promoted next time around. Most companies have yearly performance reviews during which they evaluate employees' performance and decide on who will get promoted or perhaps get a salary increase. Typically, the decision is not left to a single manager to make, but instead results from a collective decision of the line manager, HR representative, and a third manager, which usually comes from the finance department. Often, a decision follows a formal evaluation process that looks at employees' performance across many categories, such as job knowledge, target achievement, communication skills, ability to solve problems, and on and on and on. However, in addition to known categories that all of us know, there are other factors like likability and networking that do influence the management decision on who to promote. Obviously, your manager or the HR department will never admit that likability played a part in their last year's decision. But, as we shall see, likability and networking are virtually impossible to ignore due to the subjective nature of many criteria that are commonly used in performance reviews. Let us take an example. If an employee came to work on time 9 out of 10 times, then that employee was, let's say, 90% punctual. This kind of evaluation is objective as it is based on a quantitative factor, a number, that all of us know and can agree upon. On the other hand, how one can objectively measure the ability to solve problems, teamwork and leadership skills, reliability, and other criteria. Of course, managers try to do that all the time. Nevertheless, when evaluating someone's communication skills or ability to solve problems, managers tend to rely on their personal perspective or experience, or simply put it, opinion, which is subjective and potentially influenced by how much they know and like the person whose communication skills or ability to solve problems is being evaluated. The real question here is it possible to completely exclude factors like likability and relationship from employees' performance reviews? The simple answer is no. And this can be proven by simply looking at the evaluation criteria, many of which are subjective and therefore open to interpretation. Let us, for example, check the job knowledge criteria. Employees are routinely subjected to tests and exams to determine their job knowledge or their level of job knowledge. However, it is not likely that testing can measure all aspects of the job knowledge criteria. One can safely assume that at least 1/5, or roughly 20%, of the job knowledge criteria falls into a subjective category. While some criteria like target achievement or punctuality are sometimes easier to measure and therefore more objective, there are other criteria like communication skills, ability to solve problems, and others that are difficult, if not impossible, to measure and express in the form of numbers. In fact, most of the criteria on the table are partially are wholly based on subjective judgments. Subjectivity in evaluating your performance means that whether managers like or dislike you as a person plays a role in your promotion. Humans tend to like those they trust. Management tends to promote somebody they trust. And to trust you, they need to know your human side. If you think that you will be promoted just by being super efficient in your work, you are simply wrong. If managers don't know your character, values, and even your weaknesses, you will be passed for promotion in favor of someone else that managers know and by definition trust more. Networking is closely related to likability, but it is not exactly the same. Remember, a decision on who gets promoted is usually made jointly by 2, 3, and sometimes even more managers. Networking in the context of career growth was an object of an old study by a researcher named Fred Luthan. He headed a major research team that looked at the performance of 249 US managers to find out what type of managers tend to get promoted over time. Luthan's team came to know that the managers who were most likely to be promoted were in fact good at socializing, politicking, and interacting with people outside of their office. Perhaps one of the study's participants best summed up the results of Luthan's research, and you can see his statement on the screen. In fact, we don't need to go far back in time to remember cases when networking and likability were instrumental in a promotion that one of our colleagues got instead of us. Now, it would be a mistake to think that likability and networking are the only two factors we should focus on to get ahead in our careers. Below is a list of criteria and activities you should do to increase the likelihood of a promotion. First thing first, you need to achieve a reasonable degree of performance. Without performance, not likely you'll be considered for a promotion. You don't have to be the best, but there has to be a respectable degree of performance. You need to be loyal and defend your company name and reputation. And remember that management and the company you work for are one and the same. Use appropriate language to express your opinions and try not to be overly critical. You need to protect your staff when necessary, but also take action when performance is lagging. If you want to send a clear signal that you want that promotion, you need to be proactive and take additional responsibilities. Be careful in office politics and, if possible, avoid it altogether. You don't want to make enemies. Be first to warmly greet your colleagues in the morning, sometimes maybe buy them lunch or breakfast, because that expresses emotional maturity and willingness to bond with others. A high level of personal hygiene is a must. Remember, the way you look is the way you are. Don't miss annual staff parties or any company-related events. They are great opportunities to network with people who don't usually have contact with. You need to be prepared for the long haul and be patient with ups and downs of everyday work. You need to also wait for your turn. Remember the Latin saying, "Fortune favors the prepared mind." This means that it doesn't really matter if there's luck or not. Because if you are prepared, all you need to make headway is to wait for the next opportunity. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel and share the video. For any questions, please write to me at businessmanagementsimplified@gmail.com or write a comment below. Thank you.